Hello YouTubers, this is a promotional video from LASFiT Pro. I'll be installing one of their new LED lighting that come with adapters into the high beam of my Mercedes ML320. So let's talk about these LEDs. They come with adapters to fit the H7 housing in the Mercedes, and it's basically you put it in and twist, just like an actual H7 bulb. Which has been one of the issues with LEDs, is that it's not easy to put them inside Mercedes because the adapter ring, the adapter housing comes in the way. They call this the custom future. It comes with some very good stuff. So it comes with some stickers, and their product manual is excellent. It has color images, color photos, clear English, and it pretty much shows you how to hook up the wiring, which I'll talk about, as well as how to install them. So overall, the instruction manual is excellent about these LEDs, and obviously you get some stickers. So let's talk about the actual LED. The adapter, as you can see here, is removable, so I just put the adapter in first and then connect the LED. It comes with fan. You could hear the fan. And the plug has positive and negative on it. There's a plus sign on it, and in Mercedes the negative is brown, so when you connect this, you know which one is brown, which one is negative, and which one is positive if you look at the housing, the wire adapter, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So overall, this is installation process for removing the actual headlight housing. It has screws on top, screws in the front. Now you could actually just put it in on the passenger side, but on the driver's side you have to remove the headlight housing. Therefore I'm going to walk you through on how to remove it. You have to be very careful. It has this screw on top and then bolts, 2 bolts in the bottom. They're all 10mm screw and bolts. This plastic trim, be very careful when removing the plastic trim. It has 2 tabs. The bottom tab pushes down, and the top tab pushes up. So you have to use your fingers to push down the bottom tab and push up the top tab to get it through the little opening for the tabs to come out. Again, you could do it slowly. You can feel the tabs move as you do this. So that, I would say, is probably the easier part. The harder part is removing it or sliding it out of the sidewall of the front fender. You just don't want to pull it out. You want to slide it out in the position the way it is, because there are very thin metal tabs. You can't even call them tabs, but they're just like hooks. So you have to wiggle them out very carefully and make sure that you take them out in the direction that they come in. Putting them in is also very difficult, so you have to be careful when you do that. So once you remove that, it exposes 2 10mm bolts. I'm using a 10mm socket to remove these. So you just basically drive out these 10mm nuts, and then they come out. So that's pretty easy. The other one is off camera, but it's pretty much the same principle. Now we'll move on to the top, and the top is a 10mm bolt that you just undo, as I show it here, and it comes straight out, so that's pretty easy to do. Then there's a tab that's holding the light in place, and you just lift up the tab, and on the left hand side it comes out. Obviously the same procedure for the other side. Now there are 2 wire housing with tabs on them. I'm just using a screwdriver to unlock or remove or pry open one of the tabs, but it's pretty straightforward to remove these tabs. Apologies that my arm is in the way, but they're very straightforward to remove both of these tabs. And once you remove these tabs, then the entire headlight housing is no longer connected to the vehicle. Oh, I do recommend that you put some kind of a towel on your bumper. I didn't, and the headlight housing actually scratched my bumper. So please put a towel on the bumper so the headlight doesn't scratch it, and you also don't scratch the headlight. But I'm not too concerned about the bumper. So now we moved it. Now we just unscrew. I have this upside down, so keep that in mind, that when I'm doing this, I actually have it turned upside down. So you just unscrew the opening, And then here's the bulb adapter, which is the H7 bulb, and we'll be putting this in. I tested it with my Milwaukee, but I lost the video on testing it. Oh, actually I have it. So there's a plus sign on here for the LED, and I've noticed I marked a plus sign on my Milwaukee battery, and when you plug that in, it'll light up. It's a good way of testing it before you plug it in. So this pretty much works very well, and I could also hear the fan turning on. So it was maybe you can also see the fan turning. So this was great. Now let's move on to the meat of this. So as you can see, the tabs are just kept behind those two screws. The screws are Torx 15 or T15, I should say. Anyway, you wiggle out the old bulb. It's pretty straightforward to remove the old bulb. And as you can see, just compared to the LASFiT Pro bulb, the adapter is quite similar to that. Now we are going to be connecting the adapter to it. So because the adapter is a little bit thicker, I would say, compared to the actual adapter that came with the vehicle, I'm just going to unscrew those two screws with the T15 socket, so I have enough room to get in there. If you notice, this is metal, and then it also has a plastic, so you could pry it in without unscrewing it, but I found it to be just safer and securely locking just by undoing those screws. So I'm going to get my T15 and unscrew it and put it in 1 second. So these are the T15 Torx screw sockets that I'm going to be using. And again, I'm just going to be unscrewing it. I'm not removing those two screws. I'm just going to be unscrewing it so that I can put the adapter behind it, and then I will tighten them back up. So now the adapter is in place, and I've tightened them in. All right, and yeah, they're pretty secure. Now we will put the bulb in, and you want to fasten the bulb so that the LED has a part where it sticks out a little bit. So you want that to be on the bottom side so that your light goes on top. So when you put it in, so just get the polarity. And again, as I mentioned, the brown is negative, so the white one is positive, so you want to make sure that you connect it properly. So here I'm just inserting the bulb, and as I mentioned, you want the part where it has a wider opening to be pointing upward so that the high beam points upward, and most of your light is on top. Put the lid back on, tighten it, and make sure you hear a click when you put the lid back on so that it's locked in place. Now I'm putting this back into the housing. I already attached the wires, and you just want to make sure it goes in place. And again, the bottom holes fit right over the screw for the nuts, so you just want to make sure that they're both in there. So you may have to remove it and put it back in. Again, remember that I had a towel. Well, you should have a towel on the bumper so you don't damage the bumper. As you can see in mine, I've scratched it up a bit, but I'll just use something to get rid of the scratches. But once that's in, you could use the tab on top to hold it in place. This tab on the left-hand side, right here, to hold it in place while you put the screws on. Again, you want to position it so that the light is flush with the body when you put the screws back on. So I would suggest you put the bolts on, not tighten it. Just put them in and secure them onto the screw, and then the top bolt, you just want to make sure it's in. I'm just testing this out on right now. As you can see, the high beam light up on and off, and it's very nice and bright, although you can't tell it from here. I've already put the screws on. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to record it, but now I'm just putting the cover onto the this plastic adapter onto the body. Again, be very careful when you put this plastic piece back in. You want to put it in the direction that you pulled it out, and you want to put it in the direction as to the way it fits. Don't force it too much, and if you felt that it went in incorrectly, you want to fix it. You want to make sure that you take it out and put it back in the right way. So once you get that installed, and then we can move on over to the tab side. So finagle it, take your time, don't rush it in. As you can see, I'm taking quite some time to get this in because it's pretty easy to break those metal tabs. So therefore, do it very slowly with this. And again, you need both fingers, or actually both hands, to put these tabs back in. So I just went around to the other side to put the tabs back in, and that's pretty easy. Now I'll be going for a drive with the high beams on just around my neighborhood, and it's very bright. I've compared this to my Lexus with the high beams on, which are regular bulbs, but these are so much brighter. The flickering is just from the video, so it actually doesn't flicker. But right now I have the high beams on. I'm going to shut it off for a second and turn it back on, so you'll be able to see the difference. But very quick, now it's off, now it's back on, so it's very bright, and it's brighter than the other side.